live in the UK, I'm sure you probably know that from time to time, the UK government, they update the immigration rules, or they make changes, or they rewrite certain parts of it, okay? And just last month, I did a video where I spoke about all the changes that they did for last month, that was September. In this month of October 2025, they've made certain amendments as well. I think in all, there are about 8 different amendments, but I have simplified all of them, okay, to make you understand it so easily. These updates or these changes that they do once a while, they refer to them as statements of changes, okay? And they always have a number or a code name. This one is called HC1333. Last month, the changes that they made, the name was HC1298, and this month, October 2025, is HC1333. And like I mentioned, the HC only means House of Commons number, okay? What is HC1298? So HC stands for House of Commons paper. And anytime the government makes any changes to immigration rules, they publish it as a paper laid before Parliament. And each paper that they publish gets a unique reference number. So HC is House of Commons paper, and then the reference number is the 1298. So just so that they can be able to track it in the future, right? So now let's get into the video. If you are a worker, even if you are a traveler, you don't currently live in the UK, some of the changes that they made this October affect you, right? So if you currently live in the UK, you're working in the UK, or you intend to travel to the UK, you may want to watch this video to the end, okay? Guys, stay tuned. Stop that. So like I said, I have simplified all of these changes into about 8. Okay, there were so many changes, but to make it easy for you, it's about 8. Also, let me say that if you would want to read for yourself, I will leave the statements of changes as well. And usually they add what we call an explanatory memorandum, which is a bit more detailed and explains it much deeper. I'll add a link to the explanatory memorandum as well, so that you can read it for yourself. Okay, now the first one is the changes that they brought to the statelessness rule. Okay, so back in the old rule, right, we had what we call part 14 of the immigration rules, and then this referred to people that were stateless. When we say somebody is stateless, we mean somebody that is not a citizen of any country, right? They don't have a passport of any country, they cannot vote in any country, right? I'm sure you're wondering how, right? So let me give you an example. So especially this happens a lot to people from Asia. So let's say you're from one of those Asian countries where the citizenship is mainly dependent on where the father or the child is from, okay? And let's say you're a woman and you're from one of these countries, and then you come to the UK to give birth. UK would say that your child does not get automatic citizenship because we do not apply just solely here, or we do not have automatic birthright citizenship in the UK here, right? So let's say your child cannot be a UK citizen, right? And let's say you had the child out of wedlock and you don't even know who the father of the child is. Meanwhile, from where you are from as well, they don't want to give the child citizenship because their child citizenship has to be based on their father's citizenship. Meanwhile, you don't know who the father of the child is. There are certain situations like that. And then even sometimes, even war, people that have fled war, you know, they lose their documents in the process, and now where they fled from says, we don't know that you are from here, and where they have gone to is saying, we cannot give you automatic citizenship, right? So there are several people. Now, there used to be rules that apply to these people on how they can, you know, apply and stay in the UK legally and all of that. Now, they have made changes to those rules. So before, in the old rules, stateless people and their families applied under the part 14 of the immigration rules. And the rules were quite vague. They were scattered, right? And in their own words, it was old-fashioned. Now, they also said it wasn't so clear in the old rules, that's the part 14. They said it wasn't so clear on how long the people should stay and all of that. And they also said that as to what family meant to those people, the part 14 did not clearly explain it so well. So now in the new rules, now from this October, they have made some changes. Now they said that, let me read, everything is now in one clean appendix called Appendix Statelessness. So now it's not longer going to be under part 14. Now it's called Appendix Statelessness. And now the rules are much clearer, they are much stricter, and they are more detailed. Now the applicants must prove that they genuinely do not have any nationality elsewhere. They have tried to get their nationality back from another place, and then let's say they have failed to get one. They are living in the UK when they are applying for this, and then they meet good character and suitability checks. And then the families of these people, partners and children, also now have their own defined requirements. They also have things that they also have to prove, like proof of relationship, cohabitation, suitability, and all of that. And if you apply for this statelessness visa to stay in the UK as a stateless person and you are denied, now applicants applicant can now request an administrative review, which basically means that another Home Office caseworker can review the application and say, oh, I think you deserve it. Okay, so now for that particular, that's the major change with those that are stateless. Okay, initially the rules that applied to them were scattered all over, and then they were applying under Appendix 14. Now Appendix 14 is no longer there. They have brought what we call Appendix Statelessness, and now they have detailed and made it clearer and concise what you need to do to be able to apply for this, and what family means, and what your family also need to apply to be able to prove this, and all of that. And if you are denied, you can request for an administrative review. So that is the first major change for this October statement of changes. Now let's talk about change number 2. Now before we talk about change number 2, let me mention that for those that are applying for the statelessness under the statelessness appendix, right? If you made your application before 10th of November 2025, your decision will be based on the Part 14. That's the old rules. So you still not have a lot of things to prove, right? But those that are making the applications after 11th November 2025, now you have to go strictly according to the new rules of Appendix Statelessness, the new stricter rules. Okay, so the transition period, so it comes into effect all applications made on 11th November and after of this year. Okay, now the big change number 2 is the student visa and maintenance requirement. Okay, they've increased this. So basically, so if you were, let's say, a Ghanaian coming to the UK to study on, let's say, to do a master's program, or you're from Nigeria, anywhere, you'd obviously come on a visa called like international student visa, right? Now there was something that you needed to prove. It's called maintenance. So what this maintenance basically means is that we need you to prove that when you come here, you're not going to be a burden onto the society or the community by, let's say, pickpocketing and stealing on the streets of London and all of that. They need you to show that you can take care of your rent, your accommodation, your transport, your food, and all of that. So you prove this by showing a certain amount of money that is in your account prior to coming, right? So you submit bank statements to prove this. So in the old rules, okay, you needed to show at least £1,334 per month up to 9 months for any courses for those that were coming to study in London, because obviously cost of living in London is much higher. And for those that were coming to study in universities outside London, like those going to Scotland and all of that, you only needed to show £1,023 per month up to 9 months. Okay, so for example, if you're a student and you were going to study in, let's say, Oxford University or any university in London, you need to show you have 1,334 times 9, which is £12,006 equivalent in your bank account. Okay, before you be granted this student visa. And then they also have what we called accommodation offset. Okay, so this offset, what this meant was that if you said, I don't need to show this because I've already paid for my accommodation in the university, I've already paid for my hostel, then they'll subtract in the old rules, right? They'll subtract, there was a cap amount, right? A fixed maximum amount that they could deduct. Let me explain. So for instance, let's say you're coming to study in London, and like I did the calculation, you need to show you have about £12,006 in your account. But what if you had already paid for your accommodation? You've already paid for, let's say, your first semester accommodation, which was £2,000, or let's say £4,000. Now there was a specific maximum amount of money that they could now deduct from what you needed to show. So now you would not have to necessarily show 12,000. Okay, so now let's say they say, oh, because you've paid 2,000, we can subtract, let's say, 1,500. So now you only have to show 10,500 in your bank account. That's the old rule. Now they have made changes. Now what they are saying is that the maintenance amount of money that you needed to show that when you come, you'll be able to take care of your accommodation, your food, your transport, and all of that. Now they are increasing it to make it align with the maintenance loans that they give to UK students. So what is maintenance loans that they get to? So if you are a UK home student, let's say you are British or you're Irish or you have permanent status in the UK, you're settled, you are eligible to get loans to help you when you're going to the university, loans to help you with your, let's say, food, accommodation, and all of that. You're eligible to take those loans, okay? And there's a specific amount of money that you are eligible to take as a loan based on where you are studying as well. Now they're increasing the maintenance that international students have to prove in their bank account or their sponsor's bank account to align with how much the maintenance loans they were granting. So I checked what the maintenance loans were. So if you're living in London, if you're a current British citizen living in London, you're entitled to get about 13,762 per year, okay, which is roughly around 1,147 per month. And for outside London, it's about 10,554 per year. And if you're living at home, you're entitled to get 8,877 1,047 per year. Now, whatever amount that the current maintenance loans that are eligible for UK home students get, that's how much you have to prove to have in your account. And now for the accommodation offset, before there was a maximum number that they were deducting. So let's say even if you had already paid 5,000 towards your accommodation already, in the old rules they would say that, okay, we are not going to subtract 5,000. There's a maximum amount of money that we can subtract. So although you pay 5,000, they'll say, oh, we can only subtract, let's say 3,000 from your account. But now they would actually deduct the entire 5,000, which is good. So imagine you're supposed to have 12,000 in your account. You've already paid 5,000. In the old rules, let's say the maximum that they could deduct was 3,000. So that means you had to show 9,000. But now they said the accommodation offset is the total amount that they will deduct. I hope I'm making sense. So now if you paid 5,000, you only have to show 7,000 as your maintenance in your bank account or your sponsor's bank account. Does that make sense? Okay. I'll leave the explanatory memorandum link so you can read it for yourself. Or you can go back and listen to me again. Maybe you understand it better. But it's very simple. Okay. So the reason why they said they are doing this is to, reflect the rising cost of living, and also to make the visa requirements very realistic and to make it be aligned with what the UK student receives. Makes sense in my opinion. Now, big change number 3 is the English language requirement raised. They've raised it from B1 to B2. At this point, let me say that if you need a UK visa and you have no idea what EMGS is, Express Med Global Service, then you're a joker. Because now that they have increased the English language requirement from B1 to B2, that means they have raised the scores that you need to be able to get a visa to come to the UK to work. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want an English or IELTS tutor to help you pass or get this required new standard or mark, I recommend Express Med Global Service. They are popularly known for their IELTS scores. They have helped thousands of people pass IELTS with flying colors. Okay, IELTS is an exam and there's a way to go about it to get the required mark or even higher than the required mark. And these will have mastered how you can learn to be able to pass your IELTS. There are some people that are very eloquent, but because of exam pressure, tension, and because they don't understand how the IELTS exam is framed, they find themselves wanting. But not with people that have gone through Express Med Global Service. Guys, I'm going to leave their details on the screen. If you need to write IELTS for any country, okay, for the UK, for the US, whatever, contact them before it is too late, right? Contact them and then they will help you. And that's not the only thing they do. For those that want to migrate to other countries, especially for the healthcare professionals, nurses, if you need to write your CBT to come to the UK, if you need OSCE preparation, whether you're in Nigeria or you're coming to the UK on a visit visa, if you need NCLEX tutorials, if you need to go to Australia, whatever, they are your one-stop shop for travel in terms of exams. Whatever exams that you need to be able to travel to whatever country, they can assist you with that. And I'll leave all their contact details on the screen and in the description of the video so that you reach out to them. Now, I'm sure somebody is saying that they have increased it to B1 to B2. First of all, what is B1? And secondly, what is B2? Now, let me explain. B1 and B2 come from the Common European Framework of Reference. Okay, it's called CEFR, Common European Framework of Reference, and they use it to grade languages basically. So it's an international scale that describes how well you can use a language. So I'm going to leave a table on the screen, okay, so that you better understand it. So if you look at this table right now, okay, it is saying understanding your English level, and the CEFR rate is on the left side, and then let's say the IELTS exam, the scores are on there as well, and then the Cambridge exams, and then APTIS. There are different types of English exams, right, that you can write. And the CEFR, like I said, is an internationally recognized scale that describes how best you can speak English. Okay, so let's look at, let's say A1. If you get A1 or A2, it means you're a basic user of the English language. You're a basic user. Okay, if you get B1 and B2, it means you're an independent user. And if you get C1 and C2, it means you're a proficient user. Now, if you look closely, right, you can see that to get a B1 score, you should score about, let's say 4.5. If it's IELTS we are talking about, you should score about 4.5 to band 5. And if to show that you are a B2 user, which is an upper intermediate, right, you should score between band 5.5 to band 6.5. Okay, so basically, if you get, let's say, band 4 or band 5 in, let's say, English reading, writing in your IELTS, okay, you are classified as a B1 or an intermediate user of the English language. They explain this by saying you have basic working English skills, right? But if you are B2, That means you're scoring around 5.5 to 6.5 in each module, right? And this shows that you're an upper intermediate user of the English language, and then you're a confident professional in English, right? So basically this is it. And who does this affect? But bear in mind that the UK, when they say English language requirements is being raised to from B1 to B2, they don't necessarily just mean IELTS, okay? They mainly mean secure English language test, which is approved by the UK Immigration or the UK Home Office. So the most common one that people know is the IELTS UKVI. Remember, it's UKVI. That's the one that you use for visa applications. Now, other accepted ones include Trinity College London, ISE or GESE. We have PTE Academic UKVI. We have Language Set International ESOL SELT. We have PSI Skills for English. So many of them, but I think that the one that most people are familiar with is the IELTS UKVI, right? So basically that's what it is. If you were only targeting to get band 4, band 5 to be able to get a UK skilled worker visa or a skill lab visa or a high potential visa, now you should upgrade yourself. You should contact EMGS to help you raise from your B1 to your B2 so that now you can prove that you're a confident English speaker or you're an upper intermediate English speaker. You should aim at getting at least band 5.5 to band 6.5 in reading, listening, writing, and speaking. Okay, now before you're able to meet the current English language requirement to be able to get either the skilled worker visa or the high potential individual visa or the skill up visa. And visas, usually what basically applies is your school. You should be more concerned about what your school is asking for. Okay, so your school might say that because you don't have a GCSE or you don't have A levels, you should show your BEC or something to ask you to write IELTS, and they'll give you even a much higher band requirements than the UKVI. And if you come to the UK as a visitor, you don't need IELTS. Okay, for those wondering. Also, if you're applying for any of these, and usually if you are from a major English speaking country, you're exempt, like say the US, Canada, Australia, you're exempt from taking this. Or if you can prove that you have a degree that was taught in English, which is officially recognized by the UK or ECTS, or you can also exempt yourself, like the NARIC. You can exempt yourself from this as well, okay? Because now the reason why they are doing this is because they want to ensure that skilled migrants can operate effectively and speak English effectively and confidently. So basically that's it. But we all know that the reason why they're doing this is to make it tougher for people to come to the UK. That's it. Okay, so change number 4 is now they have tightened the post-study graduate visa, however they call it, right? So initially, or at the moment, if you come and do a non-PhD program like a master's, right, you can't stay in the UK for up to 2 years, okay? Try and find work to do and all of that. And most people are lucky in the 2-year period, they try and find a job that will give them sponsorship, and then now they can, switch to that particular job and stay in the UK. But now they are changing it, okay? So for non-PhD students now, if you come to the UK and you finish your master's, unfortunately now you can no longer stay for 2 years, you're staying for 18 months. And for PhD students, it still remains 3 years. You can stay in the UK after your PhD program for 3 more years, basically. But the new rule starts from January 2027. So non-PhD graduates will only get 18 months. And the government says that many graduates weren't moving to skilled work quickly enough. That's why they brought this. They said that the shorter period will encourage faster progression to sponsored skilled work routes. And they are saying that if you apply for this graduate visa before 1st January 2027, you still get the full 2 years. But if you apply for the graduate visa after 1st January 2027, then you get the 18 months. Okay. Now, change number 5 is the sponsor or employer fee increase. So for people that, or employers or recruiters that recruit people from overseas, there are certain fees that they have to pay. Aside paying for their sponsor license, they also have something that we call immigration skills charge that they pay per year per employee. Now for the large companies, they are going to pay around 1,320 per year per worker. So for the very large companies that recruit, let's say 50 people from outside the UK, you can imagine the burden that they have. Okay, this looks like, oh, it's only £300 increase, but if you add the numbers and you do the multiplication, this is crazy. And I believe they are doing this just to deter them from recruiting foreign personnel. They're making it difficult for them to recruit foreign personnel. In a way, they're not saying that you are sucking us from here, but if your employer comes to say that I can no longer pay this immigration skills charge for all 50 of you, so you'd have to go. Do you get it? It's the same thing. So usually it's the UK employers who sponsor a skilled worker or a skill up worker that pays this amount. Now they're going to make hiring of international staff more expensive, even those that are already in the country. money. And smaller countries, although they don't pay this amount, they're going to struggle because they are increasing it in general, and they're just doing this to punish their employers to recruit and invest in their locals. So basically this is it. Now the 6th change is the electronic travel authorization and the Botswana visa change. So usually for countries that do not require a visa to come to the UK, they have to apply for what we call an electronic travel authorization. So let's say if you're from Canada, you're from New Zealand, you're from the US, and you're coming to the UK, if you hold a passport from any of these countries, you don't necessarily need to apply for a visa and show your documents and all of that. But there's this thing that you need to apply for online, which takes a few minutes. It's called the electronic travel authorization. You just apply, 15 minutes, you're done, and then you buy your tickets and then you come to the UK. Now Botswana was one of those countries that needed only an ETA, and some other countries now they're saying that they've seen that in recent times lots of people come from Botswana and they now come and claim asylum. They do the ETA because they don't need a visa. They come here, and then when they come here now, they come and seek asylum and they are expecting the UK government to take care of them. So now they're cutting out Botswana. So now Botswana nationals now need a full visa to enter the UK, but there's a 6-week transitional visa free period for travelers who already had an ETA and you had already confirmed booking made before 3 p.m. on 14th of October 2025, and you can still enter visa free up until 25th of November 2025 if you had already gotten your ETA and you have made your booking before 14th of October. You can still come to the UK, right? After that date, Botswana nationals must now apply for a UK visa. But if you're from Botswana, you know anybody from Botswana, let me tell you, the rest of us, we've been applying for visas for the longest time and we've been okay. So you're going to be okay. What is this that you are worried about? Is it the documents that you need to submit? Don't worry. That is why I have specially made a document to help you know exactly which documents to submit for which based on your situation. So if you are retired and you don't know, I'm retired now, I don't have a pay slip, how do I? If you are a housewife, or if you're a student, or if I have done a whole document that you can download. Okay, I'll leave the link there. And then if you are applying for a visit visa, if it's a visit visa and you don't know which documents to submit, it's all summarized for you. Okay, to save you hours of researching on the internet and all of that. Simple. It's a checklist. Okay, so you look at your situation, you say, okay, Nanelle says I should pick this, I've picked this, you take it, and you apply. And if you have genuine documents, you get your visa. It's as simple as that. Okay, so don't cry. It's not that bad. Okay, now there were other smaller changes that are not major, but I still need to just brush through them. So they added administrative review references so that more routes can now have an administrative review to allow Home Office reconsideration before court appeal. They updated the suitability and validity rules, clearer definitions of deception, false info, and past immigration breaches. They did cross-reference fixes, gender-neutral language and terminology updates. They used decision maker instead of entry clearance officer. Sometimes it's just the language and the wording of certain things that they've changed. It doesn't really mean that they've changed the rule. It's just the wording to meet up with current, trends and all of that. They've corrected some technical errors, typos that were in the old rules to align with other appendixes, numbering and all of that. So just a bit of tidying up. Okay, so basically that's all that they have done. So let me just do a quick recap of everything. Before the recap, I'm just going to leave the transitional period for all the major changes that I mentioned on the screen. So remember, for the statelessness people, applications before 10th November 2025, they will still fall under the old part 14, and after applications made after 11th November, they'll now have to meet the new appendix requirements. English language requirements now B2. B2 now applies to new applicants from January 8th 2026 onwards. Then the graduate visa route, reduction to 18 months only for applications after 1st January 2027. And the Botswana ETA change, 6 weeks grace period between 14th of October to 25th November 2025. Basically, okay. So a recap of all that we have mentioned: the statelessness rules have been modernized, student maintenance requirements is now up, English level has been raised to B2 for workers, graduate route is shortened to 18 months from 2027, employer fees increased, Botswana now needs a visa, plus all the technical cleanups and the typo errors corrected. Most new rules take effect between November 2025 and January 2026, and the graduate route is the one that is in 2027. So if you're applying soon, any of these things, just check your application day, because the transitional rules could save you from the tougher requirements. Okay, so guys, basically this is it. I hope I made sense. Like and subscribe for more immigration updates. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.